got him out. They knew he was armed. They even knew that the car. It wouldn't be long before the telltale blue and red flashing lights of the police cruiser would appear in his rearview mirror. One car chase and a spike strip later, that same car is halfway through the wall of the gas station. The convict is scrambling out of the dented door, firing off a couple haphazard shots in the vague direction of his pursuers, fleeing into the darkness of a nearby swamp. And that's where he is right now, feeling the noose tighten around his neck, prepared for his final standoff. It's not like he has any choice in that. He'd rather go down and take bullets in the swamp than go back inside. They're so close you can hear the heavy police footsteps now, and the rapid breaths of the dogs tugging at their leashes. His heart pounds. All he can do is go deeper, deeper, deeper. The convict flees into the dark of the swamp, reluctantly breathing in the fetid stink of the old mud and rotten vegetation. The dark swamp is his friend, though, since the glow of police flashlights behind him means almost certain death. He struggles through undergrowth, clambering over roots and fallen trees, feeling the squelch of his stolen shoes sinking into the thick, wet mud. The last thing he expects to hear in this godforsaken place is a whisper from the dark. Not just any whisper. It's the voice of a little girl. Just hearing it almost makes his heart stop. He freezes in place and turns to see her emerging from the dark. She can't be older than 10 or 11, this little girl with a tangle of messy hair and those frantic, feral eyes. It's hard to tell what she really looks like, because almost every inch of her is covered in a thick coating of mud, as though she just sprung out of the earth. On any other occasion, his instinct might be to run, or even something more drastic. But instead, he doesn't move. He stands there as she speaks, listening, even as the police get closer. The little girl tells him that she knows the perfect place for him to hide, somewhere that the police won't catch him. He'll have no idea where to look. All he needs to do is trust her and follow her deeper into the swamp. If he does as she says, he can finally be free. He nods and follows her. What else can he do, really? The girl reaches out with a muddy hand, and the convict takes it as she leads him into the all-consuming dark of the swamp. The searching police officers suddenly hear a short but blood-curdling shriek come from the depths of the swamp. 40 men and multiple canine units scramble, trying to find the place where they heard the man cry out. They can't find a single trace of him. They set up a perimeter around the swamp, trying to guard every possible exit, placing checkpoints on every road he might be traveling. When daylight finally dawns, they search again and again and again. They're unable to find him. For all intents and purposes, the man is a ghost now, at least for a few months. The authorities don't give up, though. After all, a dangerous convict could still be out there somewhere, just waiting. He's armed, deadly, and clearly intelligent enough to avoid police capture. Chances are he's halfway across the state by now, if he's even still in Louisiana, or even the United States at all, for that matter. So it comes as a surprise to everyone when he's finally found, sitting at a bus stop in a small city in Louisiana. The man isn't moving. He's just staring off vacantly into space, a translucent rope of drool hanging from his bottom lip. There's something very wrong with the convict. That much is clear even from a glance. His face seems a little longer, as though the shape of his skull has changed. He has heterochromia now, with his left eye changed to a completely different color from before. And when his shirt is finally removed, a crisscross of extensive surgical scarring is mapped out along his back. Far from the sharp, lethal criminal portrayed by the media in the aftermath of his escape, this man is borderline catatonic. He talks in short, simple sentences, like a very young child, and his attention seems to drift easily when being spoken to. This same man who had mounted such a daring escape from prison and then managed to evade all of his pursuers does nothing to resist the men who come to arrest him at the bus stop. He's returned to the prison and held in the medical bay for evaluation. However, a mere 10 hours after first being admitted, and after giving little to no useful information during questioning, his health begins to take a sharp decline. He complains about things like burning and asks for something cold to drink. When he's given water, he spits it back out soon after.
The chat is on. I just don't feel like looking at
He
it.
wants his mother, though he can't recall her name. There's very little he can recall about anything. The next morning, he breaks into a series of severe seizures before passing away. His autopsy shows significant brain damage, as well as the failure of several of his major organs. The coroner, though, found it impossible to explain how any of this had occurred. A month later, a A pair of hikers making their way across the same swampland where the police chase ended would call in to the local authorities, terrified, claiming they found a dead body near a sinkhole. When officers are dispatched to look into it, they can't believe their eyes. Despite being significantly damaged, the body was clearly recognizable. After all, his face had been on every newspaper and TV screen in Louisiana for quite some time now. It's the convict, wearing the same clothes he'd escaped in. The same clothes that had been taken off of him and burned due to the recapture of the bus stop. None of this made any sense. The convict's body was exhumed from the prison cemetery and given a DNA test. They found, with some surprise, that the body did not genetically match the DNA they had on file for him.
Nice.
DNA was had, incidentally, convicted him in the first place. When the body retrieved from the swampland had its DNA tested, they also found something.
Don't worry about typing it in chat because I can always come back to it by pressing the buttons.
Conclusive determinations as to whether it was a match. It was the strangest mystery anyone involved had ever seen.
I think this is an error.
We'll never know the answer as to what happened to the convict in that swamp. The answer, of course, is SCP-1692. But before we go any further, I must first allow you to indulge me for just a moment, since I have a special announcement. As you know, I have been seeking assistance in order to bring you longer, more in-depth, and more frequent explorations of unknown anomalies, which is why I'm happy to announce that today's exploration has been sponsored by a kind benefactor, NordVPN. Try NordVPN right now by going to nordvpn.com/Dr. Bob for a free month. When you're investigating anomalies and
Yeah, that's it. Dr. Bob. I'm watching Dr. Bob on my TV.
Secure. After all, you never know when a member of MTFU4 might be watching. That's why I trust my data protection to NordVPN. Their diskless servers store absolutely no data on site, which means no traces left behind for prying eyes to find. And their automatic kill switch technology acts like a mimetic kill agent for your device, blocking it from accessing the web if it detects that your virtual private network connection is dropped. And for users who truly yours truly, they even have a double VPN. That's right, two truly is better than one, especially when it comes to VPNs. And that means I can route my traffic to two separate VPN servers, doubling the encryption. But all that protection doesn't mean your research will be slowed down, thanks to technology like NordLink, next-generation VPN tunneling solution based on the WireGuard protocol that provides an extremely fast VPN connection. So protect your data just like Dr. Bob for the same cost as a cup of coffee. Go to nordvpn.com/Dr. Bob and sign up now to receive a free month. Thank you again to NordVPN for their support in shining a light on the most secretive anomalies like SCP-16, which is an anomaly consisting of 3 parts that is confined to a few kilometers of swampland in St. Landry Parish, Louisiana. Something you learn after studying many of the anomalies in the files of the SCP Foundation is that the question, why, is often a dead end. The best you can expect is half an answer to how, with the only definitive answers available being something more in the neighborhood of, how can we stop it? Is SCP-1692 just such a case? Let's start with SCP-1692-2, which is the heart of the anomaly. SCP-1692-2 is a sinkhole of unknown depth, filled with mud and water. While you were right to assume that these are quite commonly found in Louisiana swamps, since 2014,
Let me check in
this particular
settings.
sinkhole is different in that it has played host to at least 31 sets of human remains, as well as 24 different sets that turned out to have belonged to animals. Despite constant monitoring by the Foundation to ensure that nothing else has entered the pit since it was brought under containment, new bodies will still sporadically be discovered in the muck, with their exact origin remaining unknown. But the bodies themselves are often quite easily identified. In fact, 14 of the human remains recovered have been confirmed as belonging to people who were reported as having gone missing between the early 1900s and the mid to late 1950s. But before we get too much further into that, let's return to the how of this anomaly's operations. When a human being enters the area near the sinkhole, it becomes increasingly likely that an anomalous entity will manifest, which the Foundation has designated as SCP-1692-1. While SCP-1692-1 will most likely take the form of a young girl, appearing to be perhaps 12 or 13 years old, it has also been seen taking the form of different local mammals, or even the form of one of the people reported missing, whose last known location was known to be in the area near the sinkhole. Regardless of the form it takes, though, once SCP-1692-1 appears, it will act as a kind of lure, beckoning the lost individual further and further into the anomalous zone.
No,
Unknown how they are
I'm gonna
able to
end it
sense the
here and
vigor
see if I can try to fix it.